Hello and welcome to Module 5, Chapter 3.3. In this presentation, we will explore how to observe PLA-MNH groups. Observation of groups is critical to ensure the provision of supervision that effectively supports the facilitators and groups and improves the delivery of the PLA-MNH program. This presentation is split into 4 sections. First, we will consider the responsibilities, knowledge, and skills that PLA-MNH group managers need to manage PLA-MNH group programs. Next, we will explore the knowledge that PLA-MNH group managers need to effectively observe PLA-MNH groups. Then, we will cover what to do next after reviewing this presentation. Let's turn our attention first to the PLA-MNH group manager responsibilities, knowledge, and skills we will be focusing on in Chapter 3.3. As presented previously, PLA-MNH group managers are critical and central to the success of the PLA-MNH group approach. They are the members of the program implementation team who coordinate PLA-MNH group programs through management of resources, activities, and risks. To do this, PLA-MNH group managers have 4 key responsibilities: managing PLA-MNH group programs, reporting on PLA-MNH group progress, linking PLA-MNH groups, and building capacity of PLA-MNH group supervisors. In Chapter 3, we are concerned specifically with building capacities in relation to the first responsibility, managing PLA-MNH group programs. There are 5 knowledge and skill areas that are critical for PLA-MNH group managers to deliver this responsibility effectively. You can see them on the screen now. They are MNH knowledge, facilitation skills, knowledge of the PLA-MNH group action cycle, supervision knowledge and skills, and management knowledge and skills. The first 3 areas have been covered in detail in Module 3, Chapter 4. The 4th area has already been covered in detail in Module 4. Please refer to Chapter 3.2. In Chapter 3.3, we will specifically explore management knowledge in relation to PLA-MNH group observation. Observing PLA-MNH groups is a great way to identify and celebrate any achievements and identify and address any challenges. So, how should PLA-MNH group managers observe PLA-MNH groups? Well, managers should regularly make visits to observe supervisors, facilitators, and groups in action. During observation visits, PLA-MNH group managers should focus on observing 4 things. They should observe the PLA-MNH group facilitator facilitating a meeting. They can also take the opportunity to observe the supervisor providing support. In addition, they should review the group register and notebook, which are updated by the secretary after every meeting. Furthermore, they should consult with a wide range of PLA-MNH group stakeholders. Those stakeholders can include facilitators, supervisors, committee members, group members, and any other stakeholders that the manager sees as important. Of course, it is understandable that during an observation visit, the manager may not be able to observe the meeting, review the materials, and consult with all these stakeholders. However, the PLA-MNH group manager should endeavor to do as much as possible, as the more information they can gather, the more effectively they can manage the PLA-MNH group program. Observations in each of these 3 areas can be guided by a simple checklist. The checklist covers the capacities of the supervisor, facilitator, and the group, all of which are critical to the success of PLA-MNH group programs. Let's go through it together one by one. Looking first at the capacities of the supervisors, during observation visits, PLA-MNH group managers should assess the supervision skills of PLA-MNH group supervisors. Second, looking at the capacities of the facilitators, during observation visits, PLA-MNH group managers should assess the MNH knowledge of PLA-MNH group facilitators, the facilitation skills of PLA-MNH group facilitators, and the knowledge of PLA-MNH group facilitators regarding the PLA-MNH group cycle. Facilitators with all of these capacities are strong facilitators. Finally, during observation visits, PLA-MNH group managers should assess the group's capacity. This includes observing participation in the groups. For example, Are many people participating? Are they active? Is anyone excluded from participation? Are the poorest and most marginalized able to attend the meetings? Capacity of leadership. For example, does the group have leaders? Are they helping or hindering the group? Does the group have committees and task forces? Do they have the capacity to lead the groups well? Ability to identify MNH problems and prevention and management behaviors. For example, are the problems and behaviors identified in the group important and relevant to their respective community? Ability to identify barriers and solutions. For example, does the group identify and try to address root causes of the problems they face? Ability to link with others. For example, is the group linking to other stakeholders who can help them solve identified issues? These stakeholders can include people, groups, and organizations. Ability to mobilize resources. For example, is the group able to mobilize resources they may need to implement their solutions? Is it able to mobilize resources from within the groups and/or outside the groups? Relationship with the facilitator. For example, is the facilitator building the capacity of the groups to be sustainable? And finally, sustainability. For example, do groups feel they own the groups and their work? Are they capable of continuing the activities once the project comes to an end? Groups with all of these capacities are strong groups, more effective and sustainable. Once the PLA-MNH group managers have finished their observation visits using the checklist, they should use any insights gathered to provide supportive feedback to the supervisor, facilitator, and group members. Let's now drill down into each one of these 4 areas in more detail. Starting with observing group meetings. The recommended process for observing a PLA-MNH group meeting should start with introductions. The second step is for the PLA-MNH group manager to explain why they would like to observe the meeting. This includes reasons such as to learn what the group is doing and to identify where best to support the group facilitator and supervisor so they can all become stronger. The third step is gaining consent from the group to sit in on the meeting, observe what is happening, and take notes. Once consent has been granted, the meeting can start and the PLA-MNH group manager should assess the capacities of the supervisor, facilitator, and the group using the checklist. In particular, in relation to capacities of the supervisor, the PLA-MNH group manager should assess the extent of their supervision skills. Are they providing high-quality support? In relation to capacities of the facilitator, the PLA-MNH group manager should assess the extent of their MNH knowledge. This is easiest to observe when the facilitator is using picture cards. They should also assess the extent of their facilitation skills. Are they engaging the group and ensuring good participation? Finally, they should assess the extent of their knowledge of the PLA-MNH group cycle. How closely is the facilitator following the steps laid out in the facilitation manual? In relation to capacities of the group, during observation, the PLA-MNH group manager should assess participation in the groups and leadership, ability to identify MNH problems and prevention and management behaviors. This is easiest to observe during meetings 2, 3, and 4 of the cycle. Ability to identify barriers and solutions. This is easiest to observe during meeting 5 of the cycle. Ability to mobilize resources. This is easiest to observe in phase 3 of the cycle. And finally, relationship with the facilitator. Later on in this chapter, we will outline through what means the remaining aspects of group capacity can be assessed, links with others, and sustainability. The final step in the process of observing a meeting is to thank the group once the meeting has ended. Now, let's turn our attention to reviewing the register and the group notebook. Looking first at the group register. Reviewing the register using the checklist can tell you a lot, specifically about participation in the group. First, counting the total number of members can be very instructive. Groups that have more than 30 total members tend to be more effective than groups with less than 30 total members. Bigger membership indicates more active interest from the community in MNH, and with more members, the groups are likely to have more variety of experiences, skills, and ideas. Second, assessing male and female membership can also be helpful. Groups with both male and female members tend to be stronger than those with only female members. Men play an important role in maternal and newborn health, and their perspective and engagement is vital. Please note that where there are men and women members, it is best that there are more women than men in the groups. Information on the sex of the group members can be accessed from this column in the register. The third helpful characteristic to look at in the register is the age of members. Groups with adolescent members tend to be stronger than those with no adolescent members. Through participation in groups, adolescents can gain important knowledge as they prepare for adulthood and future parenthood. In addition, adolescents who already are parents may face unique barriers to good maternal and newborn health, different to barriers faced by adult parents in the community. Information on the age of group members can be accessed from this column in the register. Fourth, assessing pregnancy status of members can be very helpful. Groups where most pregnant women in a catchment area join are stronger than those where few pregnant women join. Information on the pregnancy status of the group members can be accessed from this column in the register. Fifth, reviewing the dates of the meetings can give a sense of the frequency of meetings. This is helpful because groups that meet at least monthly are stronger than those that meet less frequently than monthly. Finally, assessing attendance at each meeting can provide important information. Strong groups are those where between 10 to 30 participants attend each meeting. Any less than that may mean that group struggles to take collective action. Any more than this may mean that participation in meetings could be compromised. Information on meeting attendance can be found by counting totals in these highlighted columns. Since the group notebook includes the minutes of each meeting, it is another source of vital information for the manager. Reviewing it using the checklist can help to shed light on both the capacity of the facilitator and the capacity of the group. In relation to facilitator capacities, it can tell you a great deal about the facilitator's knowledge of the PLA-MNH group cycle. In particular, do the minutes suggest that the meeting objectives were achieved? In relation to group capacities, minutes on meetings 2, 3, and 4 can tell you about the ability of the group to identify MNH problems and prevention and management behaviors. Minutes of meeting 5 can tell you about the ability of the group to identify barriers and solutions. And minutes from meetings in phase 3 can tell you about the ability of the group to link with others and mobilize the resources they need to implement their solutions. Now let's look at the third area, consultations with PLA-MNH group stakeholders. Being in the community on an observation visit provides an opportunity for the PLA-MNH group manager to speak to a wide range of stakeholders. Particularly important people to speak to might include the supervisor, facilitator, the group committees, other members of the groups, and also other MNH stakeholders, including community, traditional and religious leaders, amongst others. These groups are well placed to provide critical insights. Interviewing them using the checklist can provide information on the capacity of the supervisor, facilitator, and the capacity of the group. In relation to supervisor capacities, they can help to understand the level of their supervision skills. In relation to facilitator capacities, they can help to understand the level of facilitation skills and knowledge of the PLA-MNH group cycle. In relation to group capacities, discussions with the stakeholders can shed light on group leadership, how well the groups have been able to link with others to help solve their identified problems, and the abilities of the groups to mobilize the resources they need, the relationship between the group and the facilitator, and the extent to which the group will be able to continue their activities once the official project comes to an end. Finally, let's look at how the PLA-MNH group managers can use any insights gathered during their observation to provide supportive feedback to the supervisor, facilitator, and group members. The PLA-MNH group manager can use the checklist to guide the support they give. For example, if at the end of the observation visit, the supervisor has observed any good practice by the supervisor, facilitator, and/or the group, they can celebrate this achievement with the supervisor, facilitator, committee, and group members. On the other hand, if any concerns have arisen about the capacity of the supervisor, the facilitator, or the group, then they may be able to provide some on-the-spot problem-solving and coaching support. Alternatively, particularly where they are seeing similar issues coming up with several supervisors or facilitators, they may provide coaching at the next peer learning meeting, if those are included in your program. The peer learning meeting will be covered in detail in Chapter 3.4. At the end of the observation visit, the PLA-MNH group manager should write a record in their notebook. Again, they can use the checklist to frame this record, listing any positives and challenges they have observed in relation to the supervisor, facilitator, and group capacities. They should also list any actions taken and any further actions needed so they can be followed up at a later date. So, what should you do now that you have reviewed this presentation? First, we recommend that you update the Module 5 Progress Tracker. Second, we encourage you to do exercise 3.3.1 to reinforce your learning. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. You can see our contact details on the screen now. Thank you so much for listening.